Alright, jace-burner here with a new segment I'm going to be doing, and yes, it's a card review type of system, only it's different from what normal people do. I'm not going to be going over a bunch of really overused cards, brand new ones that are coming out, and giving my opinion on them, because there's plenty of people out there that do that, and I want to be different because I am different. This is a little something I'm going to be called, it's called Abused and Forgotten. I'm going to be going over all sorts of cards that are either really old or just are underrated. Abused, not as in used way too much, as in abused as in people give them like trash talking them, saying, oh, there's way better, these cards are useless, why bother using this crap. That's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to give a card its day. Every card has its day, and I'm going to give it to him. And what better way of starting off with my favorite card, one of the least favorites probably out there though, is the Fiend Megacyber. Alright, I'll start with its basic stats. You've got the level 6, the Fiend Megacyber. Dark attribute, warrior effect. Has 2200 attack points, 1200 defense. It was printed twice, I believe. It might have been the third time though. Originally, it was an ultra rare out of Pharaoh's Servant. Its effect originally stated that if your opponent has 2 or more monsters on the field, and 2 or more monsters than you have on the field, you can summon this card without offering any tributes. Now, if you read that, you'd think, oh, it's just like Big Piece Golem. If they have monsters on the field and you don't, and then you do, then you can summon them without tribute. It's just a normal summon. But the ruling on that it was counted as a special summon because it was able to be summoned specially, so special summoned. Back in the day, that's how things were determined, so yeah. But now, it was reprinted back in Dark Beginnings 1, where its effect now states, you can special summon this card from your hand if your opponent has at least 2 or more monsters on the field than you do. So, it becomes a little bit better. Now, there are some of the arguments people are going to do where everyone will say Cyber Dragon is better. Well, Cyber Dragon is kind of better. It has all the machine support, and it's a light attribute, so it has light attribute support. But the fact that it has to be summoned if your opponent has monsters and you don't, you still run into the same argument that you have with the Fiend Megacyber. The Fiend Megacyber, though, everyone argues that you're only going to use it with its effect as if you're getting swarmed on the field and you're already losing. Back in the day, yeah, but now you've got people summoning 4 monsters in one turn all the time, so chances of them having more monsters on the field than you do are really high. So this guy is able to summon a lot easier than what you would be doing with Cyber Dragon. Cyber Dragon, if you have a monster on the field, you're screwed, and if you want to get him on the field. If you have a monster on the field that can't be destroyed as a result of battle, and for some reason your opponent can't seem to get around it, and they're just summoning monsters, you can hold on to these guys and then summon a bunch of them in one turn, since you can summon them as long as your opponent has 2 or more monsters on the field. So you can special summon 2 of these if your opponent has 5 monsters on the field and you still have 1. So you're not running into a huge problem with his effect. Now, he's a dark attribute, so he has all the support that dark cards have. You can Allure of Darkness him, you can... Okay, I can't think of any more dark support, but that's really that's one of the cards that are important. Go with Dark Arm Dragon if you want to use it with those. 2200 attack points for a level 6, yeah, isn't that great, but he's basically a level 4 that can be special summoned if you're going to count that, because you're not going to tribute summon for this guy, you're going to special summon him. And 2200 points for a special summon is pretty good. I know he can't beat a Goblin Attack Force, but no one uses the Goblin Attack Force anymore. He can't beat Elite Goblin Attack Force or Giant Orc because they're equal. He's not going to beat those because you're not going to run into one of those because you're not stupid. Cyber Dragon, it can beat Cyber Dragon. Ooh, it also is a warrior. It has all the support warriors have. And the fact that he's been forgotten for so long, you could probably make a really good warrior deck utilizing 3 of these, 3 Marauding Captains, and some tuners. You could have a pretty fast deck. And 1200 defense isn't that great, but it's still good enough to stop one of the opponent's weak monsters from getting to it. It's, like I said, it's not as good as Cyber Dragon because Cyber Dragon has all that support for itself, but it is just as good as the Cyber Dragon, so why not throw this guy in if you're having an argument of what you should use? A good level 2 tuner with him, you get your level 8, so you have all the same synchros you can do with Cyber Dragon. Using a deck with 3 of these and 3 Cyber Dragons, now you can special summon all the time with 2100 and more attack points. And I always keep 3 of these in my deck because my deck revolves around this guy. He's my favorite card. I always keep an original in my deck though, because I always keep 2 originals, the 2 ultra rare versions, and then 1 of the rares. He's never been put in common because he was never reprinted, because that's how it's forgotten he's gotten. He hasn't been reprinted since he's been rare, and that's it. I always keep that rare in there though because his effect has changed, and people think that they'll read the original. It's like, well, that's just a normal summon. I always keep him, show him to your opponent, like, hey, right here, reprinted. So special summon right there. There's no new rule change on it. It can be summoned. I don't have to do this anymore with you because I'm right and you're wrong. Now, I'd like to think that people will just accept how I feel about the Fiend Megacyber and not do a bunch of really mean posts on here saying Fiend Megacyber's crap, what kind of idiot would use him, when if you think about it, he is a good card. He can be used in the game these days. I use him, and my deck special summons just as easily as all the other decks that are around, and I don't use any main top tier cards. But yeah, he's a good card. And the picture, I think the picture looks pretty cool. I mean, black and gold is pretty awesome. You got 2 giant blades sticking out of your shoulders. Pretty badass. Lightning, that's the cyber part, I guess, because his name really makes no sense if you compare him to his stats and what he does. There's nothing, he looks kind of fiendish. You'd expect him to be a fiend if you look at him and you look at his name. Megacyber, not really machine at all, nothing cybery. The only thing cybery about him is his lightning. But yeah, he looks pretty cool. So, well, that's it for the first Abused and Forgotten. I don't know which one I'm going to do next. I'd gladly take anybody has any ideas of which one I should go over. I'll review pretty much any card that's out there. I'd like to avoid the newer cards that are out because they aren't really forgotten. I mean, they're just now here, but there's not a single one I won't go over. So, anyway, this is jace-burner signing off. Peace, deuces.